Hello everyone. It's with great pleasure that I welcome all of you to another interesting English literature lesson. You know, in your anthology, there are poems which come under the poetry section. Today, I wish to discuss another important poem with you all. If you look at the screen, you can see today's topic or the poem that I am going to discuss is Farewell to Barn and Stack and Tree, written by A.E. Housman. Well, you can see the topic of the poem, Farewell to Barn and Stack and Tree. Can you see the picture? Can you remember the poet now? Yes. Farewell to Barn and Stack and Tree was written by A.E. Housman. What do you know about him, the poet? A.E. Housman, Alfred Edward Housman, usually known as A.E. Housman. Right? This poet is an English classical scholar. He was born in 1859 in England. You can understand that he is also a British poet. A Shropshire Lad. A Shropshire Lad is a collection of 63 poems, and that was written by A.E. Housman in 1896. He published that collection of poems. And these poems highlight his nostalgic experience or description of rural life and young men and their early death. Well, I have an activity for you. Therefore, I need you to pay attention to the screen. You can join A and B to make meaningful sentences. If you look at A, Alfred Edward Housman, usually blank. Alfred Edward Housman was born. There's a blank. Third one, the society recognized him as. Fourth one, he published a cycle of poetry, that means a collection of poetry. Blank. And there's another sentence that you can think and find the answer also. He died in his sleep. There's a blank. The options or the answers are given on the right side under B. A Shropshire Lad in 1896, known as A.E. Housman. At a nursing home in Cambridge is C part. D is on 26th of March 1859 in England. Last option given there is an English classical scholar and a poet. Well, I hope by now you would have got the correct answers or thought of the correct answers. We are going to discuss. Alfred Edward Housman is known as, yes, A.E. Housman. Then the second one, Alfred Edward Housman was born on 26th of March 1859 in England. He was born in England. Third sentence you are going to complete. The society recognized him as an English classical scholar and a poet. He was recognized as an English classical scholar and a poet. Fourth, he published a cycle of poetry. You can call that a collection of poetry. Can you remember the name? Known as A Shropshire Lad in 1896. And the last answer, he died in his sleep at a nursing home in Cambridge. Well, now again I need your attention onto the topic of the poem. That is, can you remember? Farewell to barn and stack and tree. What do you mean by a barn? What is the meaning of a barn? Have you seen a barn? Okay. Can you see the picture? Can you explain that? What is a barn? You can see that picture. Look at it very carefully. Very good. Yes, it's a large farm building for storing grain or hay or to keep animals in. Barn is a farm building, a large farm building where you store grain or hay or you keep the animals in. Right. Well, another word in the topic is stack. Stack. What do you mean by stack? Have you seen stack? Look at the picture very carefully. You know, this poem was written in London, England, in Great Britain, not in Sri Lanka. So the stack that you get, you find in this way. Okay? Well, what is a stack? That is a pile of something. Stack refers to a pile of something, usually neatly arranged. There may be grain or any other substance. What? Wait, yes. Now, look at the topic again. Farewell to barn and stack and tree. What is farewell? What do you mean by farewell? You say bye. You say bye. You're not welcoming. Right? So, you're going to say bye to barn, stack and tree as well. Farewell to barn, right? Stack and tree. What do you think, children? This poem is about leaving the barn, stack and the tree. There is an interesting part that you will get to know when you read. So, listen carefully. Now, you are going to complete a task. I am going to give you, complete the table. There is a table. By answering the questions given in each column, I will give you some questions. That is before reading the poem. I know you have the poem in your anthology, Farewell to Barn, Stack and Tree. When you go through without thinking about anything, just keep these questions in your mind when you read the poem. Right? The questions are, when you read, you have to keep this in mind. Who is the speaker in the poem? You are going to find who the speaker is. What has he done? Has he done something? Whether the person has done something good or bad, we don't know. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to find out. Why has he done it? What made him to do that? You're going to find. How does he feel about it now? What does he feel about his action? Very carefully you're going to find. While reading, you're going to find how he feels about his action. And final question, remember, to whom is he talking about this incident? Shall we find the answers? Can you remember the questions? Keep the questions in mind when I'm going to read the poem, when you're going to read the poem. Who is the speaker? What has he done? Why has he done that? And what does he feel about it now? And to whom is he going to tell about this incident? Are you ready? You're going to find answers and you can recite also with me. Right. Farewell to barn and stack and tree. Farewell to barn and stack and tree. Farewell to Severn Shore. Terence, look your last at me, for I come home no more. The sun burns on the half-mown hill. By now the blood is dried, and Maurice amongst the hay lies still, and my knife is in his side. My mother thinks us long away. 'Tis time the field were mown. She had 2 sons at rising day. Tonight she'll be alone. And here's a bloody hand to shake. And oh man, his goodbye. We'll sweat no more on scythe and rake. My bloody hands and I wish you strength to bring you pride, and a love to keep you clean. And I wish you luck come Lammas tide at racing on the green. Long for me the rick will wait, and long will wait the fold, and long will stand the empty plate, and dinner will be cold. By A.E. Housman. I hope you would have had an idea about all these questions, and by now I think you can recall, right? Who is the speaker? It's a question. Did you find? Is it? Yes, I'm not going to tell you. Find out. Who is the speaker? Speaker is one of the brothers. Yes, very good. We will explain more. What has he done? That's a murder. It's a crime situation. Why has he done it? The speaker speaks about love. A conflict of love. We will discuss in detail. How does he feel it about now? Because of this love has made them foolish. Not a pure love, not a genuine love. On sudden impulse, he had committed a crime. After committing a crime, can a person stay peacefully? No. He's repenting. He's worried. And to whom is he talking about? He's talking about this to his friend Terence. Right. Now, it's better if we look at the structure of the poem. Remember, children, this poem is written in a form of a ballad. And remember, this is not a traditional ballad. It's a modern ballad. And keep this in mind, ballads are not written documents. Like, ballads are passed from generation to generation. Normally, agricultural societies, they tell stories and sing and do. They pass stories. There is a rhyming scheme also, and there you get the regular rhyming scheme. Remember, there are stanzas, and each stanza here you find 4 lines. And in this, when we talk about the structure of the poem, when we mention the word ballad, you can see there is a narration, and this narration also scattered narrative. If you look at the poem carefully, you can identify all that. You will identify more facts about this poem when we do some more exercises. Then the meaning will be clear for you all. Right, there is an activity. This activity, of course, is to select the relevant pictures. You are going to select the relevant pictures. Very easy, children. Put a tick against the appropriate pictures. So you can do it with me also, and write the line from the poem which describe them. Actually speaking, you can look at the picture and tell or think about the appropriate line. The pictures are numbered. Number 1. Do you find any relevance to the poem or not? Yes, very good. There is a kind of a relevance. Can you find the line? Which line? Farewell to barn and stack and tree. That line suits for this picture. Look at the second picture. Do you find any relevance? Can you match that with the poem? Do you find this type of a modern house? Did you find? No. Very good. No relevance to the poem. Well, look at the third picture. Can you remember? What is it? Do you find any relevance? Yes. Good. Farewell to barn and stack and tree. There you get, what is that? It's stack. Right? First picture refers to barn, a barn, and the third picture highlights a place where stack is. Right. Well, now look at the seventh picture. Can you find any relevance? Yes. The matching sentence is farewell to barn and stack and tree. Very good. Do you find any relevance to the eighth picture? What is it? That's an axe. Do you find any axe over there? No, it's irrelevant. If you see the ninth one, you can see, how do you call it? How do you call that picture? There is number 9. We'll sweat no more on scythe. We'll sweat no more on scythe. Right? This scythe is the farming tool that is highlighted on picture 9. Right. You can see that axe and the difference between axe and the scythe. Scythe is a farming tool with a curved blade, you get it, right? So, relevance to the poem you get, will sweat no more on scythe. Right. Look at activity 3, 13th picture. Pay attention to the empty plate. Empty plate. Plate with a spoon, but no food. Can you read that line? And long will stand the empty plate. And long will stand the empty plate. The 14th picture, do you find any relevance? It's a pleasant sight, but you don't find this type of a story. Right. Well, look at the 15th picture. You can see an old lady cornered in a place, maybe at her place. Tonight she'll be alone. That's the pathetic situation that you get in the poem. There is relevance. When you discuss further, you will understand why I mentioned that tonight she'll be alone. The gravity of being alone after having 2 sons. This mother is going to be alone because of the actions of the sons. That is discussed in this poem. Unfortunately, we do not get the 14th picture in the poem. Hope you have got some kind of an idea about this poem, Farewell to Barn, Stack and Tree. Good. I'm going to give you another exercise. Find examples for the following categories that the speaker refers to in the poem under the following 3 headings. There are 3 headings. Though I read the question for you, I'm going to verbally ask you, please find 3 things which you come across in the poem. People. Try to find the people that you identify in this poem. Farewell to Barn and Stack and Tree, written by A. Houseman. Try to find the people. Then find the things. Right? Find about a place. Okay, are you ready? Did you find? Who are the people that you found? What are the things that you have come across in the poem? It's crystal clear if you go through the poem carefully. Everything is mentioned, so you have to read very carefully. Well, my dear students, did you find Terence under people? Terence is a name of a person. And you get mother also. And another person should come here. It's missing in the screen. Morris. It's not there on the slide. Morris is also, you have to mention. Things. What are the things that you come across? Barn, stack, tree. Is there a place that they have mentioned? I told you. 7 shoe, right? Okay. Right. We'll look at another question. Write the speaker's relationship to the following persons. Speaker. Speaker's relationship with Terence and Morris. Did you find the relationship? Terence, of course, is a friend. You can understand. A known person. Because the speaker is telling he confesses, he acknowledges his problem or the crime that he has done. And he is going to say bye to his friend. There are some lines to support that answer. For the moment, keep this in your mind. Speaker addresses Terence as one of his friends. Right? Then Morris. Who is Morris? Morris is his own, the speaker's brother. The connection between the speaker and Morris, you can say, own brother. They are siblings, brothers. Right. Another important word that you should understand is Lammerstide. Lammerstide. Lammerstide is originally, it's a festival of llamas. Right? And it's a harvest festival. Harvesting festival like New Year that we celebrate, they also celebrate in a very grand scale. They dress well, And there are competitions, merrymaking, fun-making competitions. Especially, you know, this poem is written about a simple village lad. Lad is a boy. So, these simple village lads, the boys, those who are in agricultural atmosphere or those who come from agricultural background, they look forward with their new harvest to have fun. So, Lammerstide is a festival that they enjoy wearing new clothes and they participate in competitions, right? Okay, well, now this activity 6 is very important because that will give you kind of insight, kind of wisdom to clearly identify the things embedded in these lines. The poem that you have read will be very clear if you go through these lines. Which line in the poem indicates each of the idea mentioned below? Remember, simply it's kind of paraphrasing. The idea is mentioned, so very effectively you can find the idea which is relevant to the particular line. Okay. The speaker is going to leave a place. The speaker is going to leave a place. This idea is in one line. I have written here also for your comfort, for your benefit, for you to understand the poem easily. Farewell to Sevanshu. Now, remember, this is a tricky point when you look at the exam. Now, the speaker is going to leave a place. So, at once some children might write farewell to barn and stack and tree. Barn and stack and tree are not, they do not refer to a place. They are things, barn and stack. Right? So, farewell to Sevanshu, the shore or the coastal area that you get in the largest river in rural England, you can see it is farewell to that particular village. Farewell to Sevanshu. Then the next one, the speaker is a peasant. Who is a peasant? A farmer. Farmer. The speaker is a farmer. How do you prove that? By referring to the particular poem, there is one line, we'll sweat no more on scythe and rake. The speaker says, we'll sweat. Sweat is to work hard and to put sweat, right? That means when you work hard, what will happen? The sweat comes. Sometimes when there isn't a fan, when you're not in an AC environment, when you go under the hot sun, when you work, you sweat, right? So here it's not like that. They're hard life. He says, the speaker says, the speaker is a peasant, a farmer. He's from the agricultural background who used to work in a farm. He says, we'll sweat no more on scythe and rake. Have you seen the rake and the scythe? You can see the curved blade of that. That is scythe, right? Okay, then the rake. Can you see that? Well, hope you've understood. Right. Scythe and the rake is clear, and you can see we'll sweat no more on scythe and rake refers to the agricultural background of the speaker. Then the third one, idea is they have been working in the field. They have been working in the field. They were in the field. How do you support that answer? Is this the answer? Barn and stack and tree. But does it support? No, this is not the answer. What's the answer? We'll sweat no more on scythe and rake. No more. That means they have been working. Now, previous stanzas, if you refer to, you get barn and stack and tree, farewell to barn and stack and tree. But another line which supports this, they have been working in the field, is no more, sweat no more on scythe and rake. Is it clear? Well, Maurice is dead. It's a crime situation. Very pathetic. How would you support that Maurice is dead? You will get a line like this. And Maurice amongst the hay lies still, and my knife is in his side. How dare this brother says this? This particular brother says, my knife is in his side. Can a person with a good intention see somebody with a knife and say that Maurice amongst the hay lies still? He's just lying still with my knife beside. If somebody is lying, he is not alive. So Maurice is dead. Right. And you should carefully see to this point. Death has been caused by a stab injury, stabbing, right? There was a knife and stab. And this death has been caused, or the reason for this death was stabbing, stabbed with a knife. How would you prove that? Can you find the lines? You can prove that in the second stanza. You get, and my knife is in his side. My knife, what the hell is my knife to do with his side? And if he's still lying, can you understand the point? You can see the stanza, the entire stanza. The sun burns on the half-moon hill. By now the blood is dried. Remember? By now the blood is dried. That means, now this was happened few hours before. After the murder, after stabbing his own brother, he is confessing, he is saying his grievances. He is not happy. No one can feel happy. Every action has a reaction. People can't kill another one and be happy. There are causes and reasons. You are going to logically think these crazy desires of people. Right. Well, the sun burns on the half-moon hill. Half-moon hill. That means they were working only half, not the entire thing. Right? By now the blood is dried. And Maurice amongst the hay lies still, and my knife is in his side. So that's pretty sure, 100% sure, that death has been caused by a stab. It's not a natural death. Right. Then, how do you make sure that the speaker is the killer of Maurice? Please find. You can read. When you read, you will get to know more points. He acknowledges, he repents, he is worried, he says, fourth stanza. And here's a bloody hand to shake. And oh man, here's goodbye. He says, oh man, here's goodbye. Maybe to one of his colleagues. You have a problem with this word Terence. So this man is Terence. And why this speaker says goodbye? Because he says, and here's a bloody hand to shake. He cannot shake hand. Well, he says, here's goodbye. And in addition, he says, we'll sweat no more on scythe and rake. They were working together, having peace in his mind. He is not settled. He has to face the consequences of his action. He says, my bloody hands and eye. The agony of his crime can be seen. It's properly, effectively highlighted in these lines. The speaker is the killer of Maurice is because he says, my bloody hands and eye. He doesn't blame anybody. Now he is worried. Well, you can clearly understand the trauma inside him, the mental agony, the painful experience after doing that particular crime, maybe on a sudden impulse, but he cannot escape from his own consciousness. His confession can be seen in these lines. Right. The speaker is repenting over his deed. Deed refers to the action. You can go through the same lines because the speaker is repenting, worried, not settled in his mind. There's a mental agony. Psychologically, he now doesn't have a balanced mind. Even earlier to do such a thing, maybe he was not in a better, peaceful mind because of his evil thoughts. And here's a bloody hand to shake, and oh man, here's goodbye. We'll sweat no more on scythe and rake. My bloody hands and eye. I wish you strength to bring you pride and a love to keep you clean. This sentence is important, children. A love to keep you clean. You can understand the problem here is the origin or the issues behind all these was a love. And normally, people, those who work in farms, have strength. And he, as a young lad, young boy, he says, I wish you strength. He is wishing strength to bring his colleague or the friend pride. After what? Through a better love. And a love to keep you clean. For somebody to have a clean life because of love. Or now here you can see this sentence or this line endorses a fact. His life has become an utter failure, an unsuccessful, horrible because of an affair, love affair. Right? And the decision that he has taken at this time through that. Right. Well, there's another important question. The speaker has firmly decided to leave. The speaker wanted to leave the particular place for sure. How do you prove that? He says, long for me the rick will wait, and long will wait the fold, and long will stand the empty plate, and dinner will be cold. He has firmly, surely, right, clearly decided to vacate this place. Last stanza says, long for me the rick will wait. What is rick? Rick also refers to stack of hay. And long will wait the fold. Fold refers to a flock of sheep or a confined area where there is flock of sheep. And long will stand the empty plate. and dinner will be cold. With all that, is he going to have dinner? Is he going to be back at home and have dinner? No. How can he come back and have dinner? He's repenting. The pathos, the regrets, right? You can find here. Ultimate consequences of all this you can see was his action. After that foolish action, after murdering his own brother, because of a particular unfaithful, or you can criticize it at any level, but due to his ignorance, people do things due to their ignorance. This is not, now this particular speaker is not from another neighborhood. Those two boys, Morris and the speaker, are brothers. They are siblings. They share the same blood. But to kill one's own brother and wishing his friend to have strength and have pride, keeping a clean love, gives you a proper hint. And after all, he's going to leave, vacate the place. He can't work in his farm. He cannot do his usual activities. He cannot look after the sheep. And you can see, long will stand the empty plate. When nobody is working, there is more meaning in these lines. When two brothers are not there to work in the field, how can that plate be filled? No food. And dinner will be cold. You can interpret in many ways. Maybe mother is waiting until you come home. Others are like that. That's how the speaker addresses. That's what the speaker says. But with all that, speaker knows, after all, murdering his own brother because of an unclean love, not a clean, pure love, right? He says he's going to miss his family. He's going to, his mother, his places, the places that he used to be. He will not be able to have the rick or the fold. He will not be able to help to have food on the plate, right? Okay, well, this point you have to pay attention. The reason for the dispute is a love affair. Look at that idea. The reason or the cause for this dispute. What is a dispute? Dispute is a fight, is a love affair. How do you make sure that is a love affair? Speaker says, I wish you strength to bring you pride and a love to keep you clean. The 18th line in this poem, Farewell to Barn, Stack and Tree, you get a love to keep you clean. So you can understand his love was not clean. Now there is a question. A triangular love. You can see actually one person is dead. On the other hand, the particular love is there. And in the other corner you get the speaker. And this speaker who has done the murder, stabbed his own brother with a knife, is going to teach somebody, another one, I wish you strength to bring you pride and a love to keep you clean. You get it on the 18th line. Now we have a question about this love. What can you say about this particular love? The other party, the woman that both brothers had paid attention to, definitely was not a faithful one. Because of that, the speaker says, speaker prays and mentions that. He wishes, he says, I wish you strength. You can understand normally, people, those who normally, the boys, those who work in agricultural yards or the backgrounds, have strength to work in the field. But to have strength through a pure love will give you a better hint. He has become weak. His entire life has been affected and he has become a murderer. He has done a crime. All that due to his thoughts or unfaithful person. Well, now look at the 10th question. The farming land will be abandoned. This is very important. The 10th idea, the farming land will be abandoned. What do you mean by abandoned? Just to give up the place. You can understand? Long for me, the rick will wait, and long will wait the fold, and long will stand the empty plate. So you can clearly identify through these lines, the farming land will be abandoned. There will be no person to work in the farm. I told you earlier, 2 brothers are no more because one person is dead. Morris is dead. His brother, the speaker, cannot live in the same place according to the law, the prevailing law in the country. He cannot commit a crime, murder a person and stay peacefully doing his normal duties. Therefore, the farming land will be abandoned. There won't be anybody. So, long for me the rick will wait, and long will wait the fold. But remember, and long will stand the empty plate. There won't be anybody when there isn't anybody to work in the farm. Right. Now you can see mother will be waiting for the son's return. Third line it says, this time the field were mown. She had 2 sons at rising day. Tonight she'll be alone. 6th verse, and dinner will be cold. You can clearly identify that fact in those lines. Right. Now tell, activity 7 refers to, write the causes for these effects in brief. For I come home no more. He says, for I come home no more. Killer or the murderer says this, the speaker. So, what does it imply? The guilt. He has his guilty consciousness and he repents over his activity. He leaves. The effects, of course, is clearly depicted in this line, for I come home no more. Well, look at the second one. Morris amongst the hay lies still. Yes. Now, when you look at that, the effects, you can imagine the evil nature of people, the bad thoughts and the deeds of people. Dark side of conflicts. When there are problems, what happens? There are issues related to crimes, right? It's a crime scene. And these things happen on sudden impulse. And you can see series of grievous emotions. All these things happen. Now, Morris amongst the hay lies still indicate or gives an idea, a hint for us that there was mistrust among the brothers, misunderstanding or hatred. These are some evil thoughts, right? You can understand how that had affected. Right. Third one, my knife is in his side. What do you mean by that? And how does the effects are brought properly? You can see again the evil nature, the bad behavioral patterns of people. If somebody says my knife is in his side, it's not with a positive tone. Again, the dark side of conflicts, the problems, issues. It's not a good thing that we should discuss about. Again, you can discuss and think about all these things happen because of due to sudden emotions, when they cannot control their sudden emotions, when they lose temper, when they lose patience. Again, you can discuss about mistrust, misunderstanding, hatred among people. Tonight she'll be alone. What can you say? Very poignant. That means painfully it affects the feelings. Even the reader will sympathize with this mother, because in the morning that mother had two sons, and at the end, because of that one son's action, one son is no more, the other son cannot come home. Tonight she'll be alone. And after all, you can see the conflict brings the reader's sympathy. Right? Okay. Well, and long will stand the empty plate. There, the consequences of actions. Every action has a reaction, and the bad activity, if someone has done, definitely that one has to face the consequences. Right? And it's a tremendous loss for the mother, loss for the entire society. If people start to kill one another, what will happen? Even the brothers, just over a little issue. Maybe they could have settled through an amicable way. Right? That draws the sympathy of the reader. The pathos of conflict can be spoken of. Right. The themes, of course, you can by now understand the main theme in the poem is conflict. And here you can identify this is a conflict between siblings. Right? But these siblings, of course, we all belong to human race. So this is a conflict between one another. Then you can understand because of this, due to conflict situation, killer is filled with the guilt and regretting. After regretting, he cannot follow his normal lifestyle. He has to vacate the place. The murderer has to vacate the place, leave his own background. Right. The pathetic situation is home life is disrupted or affected. Well, again, I need you to think about possible solutions that the speaker could have taken to avoid such situations. For instance, these things you should keep in mind: not to take decisions on sudden impulse. So, he or we should not take decisions on sudden impulse. Another thing is develop patience and learn to respect the others. Another important point that you can identify here is you should respect everybody, respect one another. So, such good behavioral patterns will help you to have a peaceful life. The other thing is you have to be very conscious about or be aware of the consequences of one's own actions. You are in charge of your actions. No one can help you or free you when you do a crime. Right. Another set of possible actions you can see, discuss issues related to misunderstanding, mistrust, openly and genuinely. That means you must maintain a healthy communication pattern. Lack of communication is another cause for such activities, such things that we should not see in the society. Right. The last one I can mention you is to be positive and be conscious about one's own negative vibes. If the speaker has become positive and has maintained a proper communication with his own family or even with another person to whom he can address to, this type of an action would have been avoided. Well, I think by now you would have got a better idea about farewell to barn, stack and tree. But if you have missed anything, please log on to channel NI on YouTube and follow the lesson. Until we meet you again, take care, stay safe.